Hi ladies, I thought that it would be helpful if I took an essay and kind of went through and annotated it for you to see. I think that this is a skill that we're going to be practicing over the course of the year over and over again, and I wanted you to kind of see me doing it in the hopes that it might help you as you work on annotating essays in the future. The other thing, of course, that all of these skills do hopefully, are to help strengthen your own writing. So you're going to begin to use a lot of these skills, I hope, as you see them in other people's writing than in your own writing. So that's my goal. What I'd like for you to do is to have already read, before you listen to the rest of this screencast, I want you to have already read the essay entitled "What You Eat Is Your Business" by Radley Balko. You will find that in your They Say, I Say book on page 157. So if you haven't read that yet, please pause the screencast, read that essay through one time on your own so that my annotations and reading of it will make more sense to you. Now let's get started. What You Eat Is Your Business by Radley Balko. This June, Time Magazine and ABC News will host a 3-day summit on obesity. ABC News anchor Peter Jennings, who last December anchored the primetime special, How to Get Fat Without Really Trying, will host. Judging by the scheduled program, the summit promises to be a pep rally for media, nutrition activists, and policymakers, all agitating for a panoply of government anti-obesity initiatives, including prohibiting junk food in school vending machines, federal funding for new bike trails and sidewalks, more demanding labels on foodstuffs, restrictive food marketing to children, and prodding the food industry into more responsible behavior. In other words, bringing government between you and your waistline. Now, in this paragraph, what I first note is that there's a very clear they say here, right? And it is this summit. There's a 3-day summit coming up, and he tells you in the rest of the piece exactly what the summit is going to be about, and that in fact is his primary they say. So I would highlight that and I would make myself a note. The people who discuss food. The other thing that I noticed, this is of course what they are saying about food. The other thing that I notice here is there's a clear slant, and that slant is most, I think, best found here in this last sentence, right? When he says, in other words, bringing government between you and your waistline, he's very clearly rephrasing this with a negative slant. Notice that that's a fragment, but that it's okay and it works. We get to start breaking a lot of rules when we start writing on a more sophisticated level, and one of the things that we get to do is use a fragment if it is necessary, and helps to establish our argument. Okay, in the second paragraph, I think I'm not going to read all the paragraphs since you've read them. I will just talk about them, and you can read them kind of while I'm talking about, make sure that you understand what I'm saying. The second paragraph, I'm going to use the comment feature and type a comment that says that this is a summary of what they say, again, about food. The third paragraph is a clear transition. So he makes a very specific statement here that this is wrong. So this is clearly an I say beginning, right, and a transition. The next paragraph, Balko labels these ideas, and he labels it with a term that is generally seen as something very negative in our society, socialism. So it's a summary, this paragraph is a summary of related ideas that would all be kind of called socialist ideas, and he's likening these socialist ideas to the food ideas that he's going to disagree with. So this is a kind of they say. He's moving outside of the realm of food, but he's using these other ideas to talk about food and what he's going to say about it, help him make his argument. The next paragraph is real important because I think that it probably is the most clearly defined statement of so what or who cares, your book would call it. When he says that this collaborative ownership of private health paves the way for even more federal restrictions on consumer choice and civil liberties, he is making a very loaded statement. This is key, because most people would tell you that they don't want their civil liberties restricted. And so if he can make you think that if you are against him, that if you are on the other side of the fence, that you will be promoting restrictions on civil liberties, he makes it all the more all the more difficult for you to disagree with him, right? So very clearly, so what, who cares, here. The next paragraph, this entire paragraph is again a they say summary, right? Also, he addresses some of his naysayers in this paragraph as well. So I might make note of that, that he is kind of quoting them, and especially right here, right, when he quotes them, he's quoting some of his naysayers and then talking about that. The next paragraph is a clear thesis statement, right? Where he's offering a solution, the best way to alleviate, and then he makes it very clear what he thinks should be done. So I would label this his thesis. This whole paragraph then is I say, right? He says that they should do this, they should halt this, they should move to this. He goes on in the next paragraph to say that we should halt plans, we should increase, so on and so forth. Full of lots of I say, both of those paragraphs. And then finally, he closes with a return to his I say and a reminder of what they say we should do. So he comes back one more time. He concludes with a return to his I say, but a reminder of how it fits with his they say. This is an important conclusion. It reminds the reader one more time why it is he's saying what he's saying. Now, I'm going to ask you to read some essays and think about their naysayers. Balko doesn't address a lot of naysayers in this issue, and I wanted to suggest a place where I thought he could, because I'm going to ask you to do the same kind of thing. And I would actually like to talk about this kind of area right here and what he's doing. I think that a possible naysayer could be in this sentence when he says we should free insurance companies to reward healthy lifestyles and penalize poor ones. Well, I think one possible naysayer there that he could have addressed would be someone who would say that it is oftentimes impossible to tell if health problems are due to lifestyle choices, because so much of health has to do with genetic predisposition in addition to lifestyle. So I'm not quite sure how you would go about measuring and rewarding healthy lifestyles. People who live healthy lifestyles will also suffer from major health problems. And, are those health problems due to their poor choices earlier in life, to their healthy lifestyles, to their unhealthy lifestyles? It's just hard to say. So I think it could have strengthened his essay perhaps by acknowledging that and then finding a way to kind of disagree with it. That's a possible idea for a naysayer. So when you read your assignment, I'd like for you to read and find a place in the essay where the author could have addressed someone that would have disagreed with him or her, and then ultimately dismissed that disagreement so as to further or strengthen his or her own argument. And that is an overall reading and annotation and discussion of the essay. Now I'd like you to do the same thing on both the Campos and Orbach essay. Follow the directions on my website.